Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Gloria Cereza. I am the Assistant Superintendent of Instruction here in the Chula Vista Elementary School District. We're very excited to have you all with us tonight, have such an esteemed guest here to share an incredible presentation. Before I turn it over to our guest, though, I would just like to welcome our Superintendent, Dr. Francisco Escobedo. Would like to invite Dr. Escobedo to say hello and good evening to all of you. Dr. Escobedo, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jen. Want to wish everyone a happy new year, and we're very fortunate to have someone from the district attorney office. I mean, being a parent right now is so different than when I was a parent, maybe about 20 years ago, so some time ago. But you know, with the internet and all these issues that happen through the cyber world, you as parents, and I'll say hopefully soon I'll be a grandfather, right? We as parents can help our kids, protect our kids. I think one of the primary duties of a parent is to provide a safe and nurturing environment for their child. And we need to be equipped to ensure that we can do that. So I really appreciate you all being here. Like I think as Misha said, this meeting is recorded just for other parents to hear this, or maybe for yourself to hear this over and over again, because you're going to get some outstanding information, hopefully develop great skills to protect your precious children. And guess what? They'll never, my daughter is now over 30. They will always be your children. So thank you, Gloria, and Gloria will be inviting our guests.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Escobedo, and you're right. We never stop being a parent, no matter how old they are, right? All right, everyone. So again, thank you very much for being here with us tonight. We are very, very proud to be able to bring a very special guest. We have Cheryl Suing Jones with us this evening to teach us a little bit about internet safety. Ms. Jones is a community partnership prosecutor with the San Diego County District Attorney's Office. Ms. Jones's background includes experience as a trial prosecutor, where she has tried over 30 felony trials, and her cases include homicide, robbery, burglary, drug sales, car theft, and sexual assaults. She has served as the juvenile sex crimes team leader, was the South Bay Sex Crimes and Human Trafficking team leader, and now in her current role as the community partnership prosecutor, instead of being in the courtroom, she is now out in the community working to prevent crime before it happens. So with that, I'm very proud to present to you Ms. Suing Jones. So Ms. Cheryl, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction. Can I have screen share abilities?
Yes.
Would you like me to share your PowerPoint?
No. Can I share it?
Oh, yes.
If you give me screen sharing, or
I believe you should have rights.
Yeah. Are you able to access it now?
Okay. Yeah, do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. All right. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I want to talk to you a little bit about internet safety for parents. We all know the internet is a wonderful place. We all use it for so many reasons. We use it to watch movies. We use it to connect with friends. We use it for work now. And your kids are on internet all day long. We also know it is a powerful tool that predators can use to prey upon innocent children with things like child exploitation, human trafficking, extortion, malware. Did you know that internet crime is the fastest growing crime in the United States, and the fastest growing pool are children? Over 45 million children ages 10 to 17 use the internet, and among them, 1 in 5 have been sexually solicited, 1 in 4 have encountered unwanted pornography, and close to 60% of teens have received an email or instant message from a stranger. And what's important for you to know is more than half of them have communicated back. Predators are able to reach your children through online social media. So when we think of online social media, there are so many ways that we have that it can come into our households. Obviously through computers and that type of thing, but it also comes in through our cell phones or through tablets like iPads or Kindles, and it comes in through gaming. If you look at the picture in the upper right-hand corner, and there are all the places that if you are in your family room right now, where there may be ways that your children can access the internet and social media. San Diego reports that internet crimes against children have tripled during this closure because of COVID. This is because kids are at home all day, they're on their tablets all day long, and if they're on their tablets, then the predators know that they're there and they're reaching out to them. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has experienced a 93% increase in online enticements just the first 6 months of this year, from January to June, and a 90% increase in cyberphone tips and online reports during that same time. I'm sure that most of us know that the children know way more about internet than we do. If you have a problem on your internet, all you need to do is ask a 12-year-old, and they can figure out things that will take us all day long to figure out. But the problem with having the children knowing so much is that so many parents are not supervising their children. 20% of parents don't supervise their children's internet at all. And this is a number that was before COVID. Now it's almost impossible to supervise your children all day when they're doing their homework all day or they're doing their schoolwork and parents are working. But it's really important that we think about the importance of supervision. Only 52% of parents moderately supervise their children. And 71% of parents think as the children get older, when they get to be about 14, they stop supervising them. But the problem with that is 72% of internet-related missing children involve children that are 15 years or older. So just at the time where we think it's okay to stop supervising them, that's when they're at the most danger. And 62% of teens say their parents know little or very little about the websites that they're visiting. So there are so many avenues of online media. By the time we as parents figure out what the new apps are, they've moved on to something else. And your kids know about this. Certainly teenagers and high school kids, but even elementary school kids have an amazing knowledge of all of the ways they can go onto social media. Let me ask you, if you had got teenage girls, does this look familiar? This is what the girls are doing all day long. They're on their computers socializing, and now that schools are out and there's online school, they are really, it's added to the amount of time that they're online even more. But what I want you to know is that boys are vulnerable too. And men use video games and online apps like Omegle, Roblox, and Discord to communicate with boys. And what happens with these apps is that boys can play with other boys that they know, but they can also play with people that they don't know. And they may think they're playing with boys, and they're actually playing with men. So today we want to talk about 3 general concerns when it comes to internet safety. There's inappropriate conduct, there's inappropriate contact, and there's inappropriate content. Sometimes they somewhat overlap, but we'll talk about them separately. So what is inappropriate online conduct? It can be something as simple as your profile pages. So you have a Facebook, the kids have Facebooks, the parents have Facebooks. If they have older siblings, they have Facebooks. So some things are okay to put on your profile and some things are not okay. Like it's okay to list your interests and things that you like or quotes. It's okay and preferable to use an alias for your name. What's not okay is revealing sexually inappropriate, revealing or sexually inappropriate pictures or information. You never want to list your birthday because then they know how old you are and they know what age to pretend to be so that they can try to befriend you. You never ever want to put your address or telephone number or your schedule. Now, it's always very tempting to put things about your school. Like if you play a sport and you put up a picture that shows you're playing basketball, or you post a picture of your child playing their sport, that lets predators know where your child goes to school. So those are the kind of things you don't want on your profile page. And you want to make sure your children don't have it on their profile page either. What else is okay to do? It's okay to have friends online, especially with us at home all day, all the time now. If we didn't have friends online, we wouldn't have any friends at all because we are sheltering in place. So it's okay to stay connected with friends and family, to form work or business networks and that type of thing. What's not okay is talking to strangers, adding strangers to your friends list, accepting someone as a friend who you don't actually know. And I know that many people do this. We're all probably guilty of it. Someone who is a friend of someone else's, so they ask to be our friend and we say yes. But this leaves kids vulnerable to stalkers, harassment, hackers, and all kinds of inappropriate content. So what is the problem with inappropriate online conduct? Well, one, your kids are little now, but they'll be getting older and they'll be getting more sophisticated. And when they start to look at colleges, colleges are now looking at kids' social media, and so are employees. So your kid goes to get a job and they say, I want to see all your Facebook. Now you may think that, okay, I'll just keep my Facebook private, but the problem is that sometimes that's a condition. I want to see your Facebook page. And so I know of young people that have been offered jobs and then had those jobs rescinded because of something that was posted. Or if you do something really illegal or just a horrible thing to do, like this man that's working at Burger King and standing in the lettuce and taking a picture, then he could come back later and get fired for that. Let's talk a little bit about sexting or sextortion. So I know your kid, like I said, I know your kids are little, but maybe you have older children, and even the young ones will be growing up soon. Sextortion is where explicit images are used to extort additional photos, sexual favors, and sometimes money from victims. It can also involve something called catfishing, where predators lure unsuspecting victims online and then talk them into or coerce them into sharing pictures. So I'm going to show you a video that demonstrates what can happen with sextortation. Let me ask, can you hear?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I didn't know if you were able to hear the video, because sometimes there's something I have to do to make it. So let me know if you can't hear it. I'll start playing it.
Sounds good. Okay, so yeah, we cannot hear the audio from the video.
Okay, that's what I was concerned about. Okay,
Yeah.
so let me There's usually a place that shows where I can make it sound, but I don't see it. Okay. Well, in the interest of time, I'll tell you what happens in this picture. So this is a young lady that's looking at her computer, and she thinks she's been talking to a young man that's a very handsome young man, and he's asking her to show pictures of her without her clothes on. And so she does so. And she thinks it's harmless, no harm, no foul, it's fine. So then the next day, he contacts her again and asks her for more pictures. And this time she says she's doing her homework and she doesn't have time to do that. So then he tells her, if you don't show me more pictures, if you don't take your clothes off, then I'm going to send these pictures to your parents or to your teachers or to your friends at school. So that's an example of how when you post something inappropriate, you think that you're showing it to someone who you trust, and very often it's someone else altogether. And there you can get in trouble for sex extortion scams. This young man posed as a girl on Facebook, and he tricked over 30 other young men to send him nude photos. So these nude photos were found on his computer. He had threatened to post them online unless the young man engaged in sexual activity. And he got in a lot of legal trouble for it. He was prosecuted. He ended up getting 15 years for it. So whether you're on the end of being the victim or the perpetrator, it's very dangerous business. Let's talk a little bit about inappropriate online contact. So, social media, predators use social media to contact and groom children and teenagers. Here again, the young lady is on her computer. She probably thinks she's talking to a peer. And this is a teenager, 20-year-old guy that she's actually communicating with. And he could be saying things to her to convince her that he's a nice guy, that he's her friend, that he's someone that she can trust. So that's what online grooming is. Online grooming happens when someone befriends a child online and builds up their trust for the purpose of exploiting them. It's usually an older person pretending to be a young person, and the goal is to be able to sexually abuse them. And groomers can take their time. They can be very patient before they ask the child to do anything sexual. So what does it look like? The groomer will appear to be a trusted peer. They may start to talk about sexual things or ask for pictures. They may get your children to believe things that aren't true. If your children are upset with you about something, they can say, well, I'm the only one that you can trust. If you're having a problem with your parent, you can talk to me about it at any time. You want to come and meet me somewhere, and we can talk about, because your parents don't understand how mature you are. They will try to isolate the children from their friends and family, and they can be extremely patient. So social networking sites make it easy to pretend to be someone else. You can think you're talking to this pretty young girl that's up in the upper right-hand corner, and you're actually talking to this older woman that is grooming your child, that is grooming them, getting them to come online or getting them to come and meet them somewhere. Or you can think you're talking to this young man, or your child can think they're talking to this young man, and they're really talking to this old guy that's going to get them in the park, and I promise you nothing good's going to happen from that. This is an actual example of 13-year-old Casey Woody, who liked to play and chat online. But she vanished from her home in 2002, and her body was found. It turned out that she had been murdered by David Fuller, who she had met online and who he had talked her into coming somewhere to meet him. So these are real stories. There are many, many stories that happen. And you may be surprised how easy it is to contact your children online. So let's talk a little bit about Instagram, for instance. Like, how much information can I get from a single Instagram post? This Instagram is the latest and greatest for teenagers now. So from your Instagram post, you can get your name, or people can get your name or your location. And then once they have your name, they can check on Twitter, because many people that are have one type of social media will have many type of social medias. So you get the name on Instagram, then you look for it on Twitter, and then they can find out that that you live in San Diego, or you're a hockey fan, or whatever kind of fan you are. They're finding out information about you or about your children to get closer to them. And you'd be surprised how much free online information there is. Now, there may not be a lot of free online information about elementary school kids, but if the parents, if they know your name, you can put in your name in some of those search engines and find out where you live, every place you've lived for the last 5 years, where you work, who your family members are. Again, this is all information that predators are using so that they can gain your child's trust. And then once you have that information, then you also, many people who have Instagram also have Facebook. From here, they were able to find out the name, the location, that they lived in San Diego, liked hockey, to find out all of their different networks, networks that they were using, how often they were on social media, where they worked, and even sometimes where they are from. And then once you tag yourself in those pictures, or your friends tag you in them, let's say it's your birthday, and everybody's giving you happy birthday messages. So then they can find out how old you are. They certainly can find out your birthday, but sometimes they'll say happy 5th birthday, or happy 15th birthday, or happy 16th birthday. And so again, these are all the information that it seems from a very innocent Instagram post, but if somebody is choosing to use it for a non-innocent reason, they are able to do that. Again, there's lots of free online information that people can get, including your work history, phone number, addresses, that type of thing. So how are you going to protect your kids from this? Well, you're going to tell them don't post anything personal, any personal identifying information online. Kids don't like using privacy settings because they want all their friends to be able to reach them all the time. But it's really important that your kids do use privacy settings. And tell your kids don't post anything that you wouldn't want your parents or your teachers or your coaches to see. Be careful about group messages because you don't really know who they're all coming from. And again, don't friend people you don't know. It's very tempting to, if somebody says they go to your school, they go to your child's school, they look about the same age as your child and they want to be your friend. Don't do it. Tell your kids don't do it. Only accept people as friends who you actually know. And don't follow blind links. Like sometimes if you open your computer, your iPad, your iPhone, you'll get some sort of link that tells you to click onto it. If it's something that doesn't look right, don't click onto it. Or if you, as parents, if you get a message, let's say from Bank of America that says there has been your account has been compromised. So click onto this site and put in your account number. That could be opening you up to fraud, to malware, to people getting into your computer system. So for parents and children, it's really important, don't follow blind links. Okay, let's talk a little bit about inappropriate content. And again, I want to talk about sexting. So sexting is something that people were not doing when I was a teenager. It wasn't a thing then, but it is very much a thing now. So sexting is sending sexually explicit messages, photos, or videos via any digital device, whether it's a phone or a computer. It can include sending photos or simulated sex acts, or even messages that discuss or propose sex acts. And surprisingly, over 40% of kids are exposed to sexting by the time they are 14 years old. More than 1 in 10 8-year-olds have been exposed to sexting, with that number climbing to over 42% by the age 14. And the sexters can use algorithms to parse messages to kids and to send all kinds of things. Once a kid seems to accept one type message, then they just start getting more and more of those type of messages. And I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the emojis that seem like they're just cute and fun, but kids are actually using for sexting. So you might ask, why are girls doing this? They're not doing it because they think they're going to get in trouble or because they are bad girls or something. They might just think it's fun and flirtatious. Maybe it's a present to give their boyfriend. Sometimes it's just a joke. And sometimes they feel pressure. They're getting pressured by other kids to do it. And so there are many reasons why girls are sexting, but it's very dangerous. Sexting images can find their way onto the internet and from there to predators. Once your kid sends a photo of themselves, they have no control over what happens to it. You may send it to someone and you think that person is your friend. That person is your friend in January, but by February, that person is not your friend. And now those pictures are posted all over school, all over the other kids' websites. It can lead to bullying and harassment. And it's even illegal. If you forward a sexual image of an underage child, even if you are the underage child posting a picture of yourself, you could face pornographic charges. You could go to juvenile hall, have to register as a sex offender. And actually children don't usually have to register as sex offenders. I'll take that back, but adults would have to register. But what's really important is sex never go away. Just because you delete it, just because you erase it, just because you put it in the trash, once they're on the internet, they live there forever. So there are many codes that kids sometimes use where they're on their phone and they're texting and they're communicating with their friends. But they know you as a parent may be looking over their shoulder. And so they're not going to just write sex on their cell phone for you to see it. So they have all of these little codes that mean different things. You know, we think of LOL as a code for laugh out loud. Well, there are a lot of other ones that have a lot of other type of meanings. And this list goes on and on. I don't expect you to remember this list, but just be aware if you see a bunch of letters together on your kid's cell phone or tablet to ask them what that means. And then those, again, I told you about those innocent emojis that your teenagers could be using that mean other things than what they appear to mean. They're not just the LOLs. There's the eggplant, the peach, the taco. They have sexual implications, and the kids are using it for this. And it's also so that the parents aren't able to really necessarily track what they're doing. You can have a whole conversation, a whole sentence about it, where you put different emojis together to mean different things. Let's talk a little bit about cyberbullying. So when a student uses the internet, cell phone, or other technical devices to send or post messages or images that are intended to hurt someone, to humiliate them, to intimidate them, to make them unhappy, to make them scared, that's cyberbullying. And cyberbullying is alive and well. And it's happening even more now that kids are at home and bored all day. Kids get Zoom fatigue. They're tired of looking at their computers, but they still have to be on their computer. So then they may do this and they think it's fun. But I want you to tell your children that there can be really horrible outcomes that come from cyberbullying. There are countless stories of young people that have committed suicide from being bullied to death. Because whereas if the bullying is happening at school, somebody walks up to you, says something mean, or even hits a kid or something like that, that's going to end once they go home or once they go tell a teacher or something like that. But with cyberbullying, it is coming into your household 24/7. It is coming in through the devices. The parents may be asleep. The kids are still looking at the devices. And there have been lots of incidents of young people that committed suicide because they were bullied to death. 13-year-old Megan Meyer died by suicide by hanging herself 3 weeks before she turned 14 years old. And it was because she had been cyberbullied relentlessly. And actually, in this case, this was the mother of another child who wanted to get the dirt about what was happening at school. And so she pretended to be a young man. And then she started saying really, really mean, hostile things. Jamie Rodemeyer had just started his freshman year in high school, and kids were bullying him because he was gay. And so they were saying very, very mean things to him about his sexual orientation. His sister found him in the backyard having committed suicide. Similar with Jeffrey and Ryan. These are real kids that were going to school, going along with their lives, and some other kids just thought it was fun to do mean things online. So I want you to just tell your children that even if the goal is they think it's funny and cute and it's not going to hurt, it can hurt. Anybody who said sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, that was a lie. Words hurt. So what are the warning signs that your child might be being cyberbullied? Well, if they stop using the computer unexpectedly, you walk in the room and suddenly they turn it off. Or when they get an instant message and they seem nervous or jumpy or sad, suddenly they're very angry or depressed, something that they see online. They won't tell you what's happening because kids are sometimes loath to tell you if they're being cyberbullied online because they don't want you to take away their devices. So many times they won't even tell. And or if you see that they're becoming withdrawn from friends and families. What are you going to tell your kids to protect themselves? Well, first tell them never respond to a cyberbully. Block the bully, but don't delete it. Print out the page so you can give it, so your kids can show it to you or to their teacher or to a trusted adult. Ask for help. So the district attorney's office created the Protecting Children Online Safety Campaign in order to shield children from dangerous predators online. And we're working with law enforcement, parent groups, children's organizations to launch a major public outreach to give parents tools they need to keep children safe online. So you can look on the DA website, and if you look under Protecting Children Online, there is a sample contract that you can use to make a contract with your kids so that there's an agreement. So we have some ground rules. So kids know what's expected of them, because sometimes we think that they know and they don't. So again, the warning signs that something amiss is happening on the internet. When kids have unsupervised time in chat rooms, or if they have downloaded photos of strangers or pornographic photos, or they're particularly secretive, or they turn off the computer really quickly when you walk in the room, or change the screen. Those are warning signs that there's something happening on the internet that is unsafe. So how are you going to protect your children? Well, there are many ways that you can do it, but some that come to mind for us are place your computer in a common area of the house. Now, I know this might be easier said than done when all the kids are at home on their computers doing their schoolwork. But to the extent that you can monitor them and see what they're doing just kind of on a regular basis, educate yourself about computers and the internet. Again, children know way more than we do. And then spend time with them online. Make reasonable rules and set time limits and then enforce them. Tell your children about the dangers of the internet. Like I said, sometimes we think kids know things and they really don't. So it's important that you tell them and weave it into dinner conversation. It doesn't have to be a serious conversation, but just let them know. Don't let your kids go into chat rooms, and reinforce the guiding rule that not talk to strangers online. The other things that you can do are put the accounts in your name and know the passwords. Tell your children that they are not allowed to have a face-to-face meeting with someone they meet online, even if it seems like just another child that's their age. They say they go to their school. They say, you know, a bunch of kids are meeting at the park. That's a no-no. Remind them not to give out any personal information on the internet, and be aware if your children are using other people's computers, because if they're at a friend's house and they're using that computer, they could be having some kind of connections that you don't know about. And then review the use histories or logs on your computer to see where they have been. And again, you can develop a contract for your children about their internet use. What's the really most important message that I want to tell you is that you have to monitor your children's activity. Watch what they're doing, be there, watch what they're doing. There's not enough training that I can give that's going to replace being there and paying attention. All right, I'm done with my presentation. I am going to turn off my sharing and answer questions. All right. Any questions?
So I have a couple of questions in the chat.
Okay.
I can help you moderate there if that's okay. Let's see, just the first one asking for a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, especially the abbreviations and the emojis, please. So that's just a special request.
Well, you recorded it, right?
Yes, we did. Mr. Hartman is saying, I have some concerns of how secure Teams is. Our kids use it every day, and students from other schools can openly communicate with each other. What is the best way to report inappropriate behavior? Also, kids are being kicked out of meetings repeatedly by other students, which is a type of cyberbullying. There doesn't seem to be any repercussions for those actions.
Okay, so the first question is, how safe is Microsoft Teams? We use Microsoft Teams in the DA's office because we find it to be the most secure. We find it to be more secure than Zoom, but I don't really know technically how secure it is. We're kind of all learning this at the same time and being on the computers all day long. I could try to find an answer to that question for you, but I recognize that could be an issue. I'm not sure how kids get onto others, because I don't know how to get on somebody else's Teams page. But if you find that's happening, I think you need, if it's happening and it's when they're doing their schoolwork, tell the school. I mean, call the school, report to them. And if there are things, if you see, if somebody is really trying to exploit your child, then you can call the police. about that. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you call the police if just kids are just being kids. But if you believe that your child is in any kind of danger, if they're being groomed, if they're being some adult is trying to traffic them or that type of thing, that's when you involve law enforcement. But definitely let the schools know, because they are the ones that might have the most ability to put blocks in so that kids can't get into each other's teams.
Yes, and also if you're noticing any trouble or if you're having any problems with inappropriate behavior, please make sure that you let the teacher or the principal know right away so that they can address that. And the team's sessions are secure within the school district, within our system. I know we've been working on trying to keep classes as secure as possible from other classes in the district. So we will definitely support you with that. Just let our teachers and principals know. All right, I have another question here. Is it legal and recommended to use monitoring software for kids' devices?
I don't see why not, but I don't know. I think you could use a monitoring device in your own house on your own computer. Would be my guess. It's not something that we've really come across. Maybe the issue has come about when people were trying to get onto other people's sites, but I think you can for your own children.
Okay. All right. Next question. Do you have any names of apps for monitoring kids' phones?
I do not. I'd have to Google that. But you're the best person to monitor the phone.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, get the passwords. Kids don't want to give you their passwords. It's best that be an agreement that you make with them right at the beginning when they first get their phone. Because when you try to institute it later, you're just gonna run in, just speaking as a parent, they're gonna do a lot of pushback. So if at the very beginning you say, if you want to get a phone, then I get to have your password. And then, you know, have the password, look regularly, maybe have times that phone time is over at 10 o'clock and the phone stays in your room until the next day. So I think that's the best way to monitor it.
Okay. All right. Very good. Mr. Hartman, he's asking, thank you. You didn't answer the second part of the question. The teachers are aware of students kicking out other students, but they don't seem to know how to prevent that. Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Hartman. I know that there are some issues that we're working on with our teachers. So if we know where that's happening, we can work with the teachers to prevent that from happening in the classroom. So if you'd like to privately message me, I'd be happy to reach out to the school and make sure that they get the support that they need. Okay, all right. Any other questions? If you'd just like to, or if you want to unmute and ask a question, you're welcome to do that as well. Ms. Gonzalez, do you have a question?
I do have the same concern with teams. I do happen to have two little ones at home. I have a second and a third grader. And earlier this year, a fifth grader was video calling my youngest girl. And obviously she didn't accept a call, and I did talk to the teacher, and she knew who the student was who was calling her because they happened to have the same last name and first name. But it just made me feel really uncomfortable to know that a fifth, sixth grader can always just video call a second grader. And I know we're all going through this together, and it's teams, it's new, but it did brought concern to me.
Yes, I can see why you'd be very concerned about that. I think I'll have to refer those questions back to the school, because I think they are the ones that really are in the best chance to have control over the teams. But again, I can't stress enough how important it is to monitor. And we are in this situation now where we've never been in, the schools have never been in, where we're doing everything is online. And so that's why we just try to give parents as much information, but in terms of the actual technology of how to prevent it when it's being controlled by the school, I'll have to refer you back to the school for that.
Thank you, Jackie. All right, any other questions? All right, I do see Ms. Vasquez. Do you have a question?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi.
I just think this is just a great information for us, the parents, to take into consideration for what we're living right now with kids at home. I was just wondering, is there a way that maybe this presentation can be like modified for the kids, like to be able to present it directly to the kids? Because when we see, as the parents, we see the pictures and we see the information, I mean, it's kind of shocking. So I'm just thinking right now how I'm gonna pass this information to my kids. And I just believe the presentation will be like most effective on them, like when they see the information and the pictures, and like, I don't know if there's something that can be done about it, like to have the presentation directly to the kids at school so they can learn firsthand of the information.
I can do that. I usually give a different presentation if I'm presenting to parents than to children. I'm happy to come back and do one that is more directed to the children, that helps to really break it down in ways they can better understand it. So I'm happy to do that anytime.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. Any other? Yes, and it is a great idea to share this with kids. Mm-hmm. Any other questions for our expert? Now is your chance. We have her here. I'll just wait a minute or so and see if any questions pop up. Miss Anna has a question. Miss Anna, go ahead.
Hi, it was, thank you so much for this presentation. And it was a very good, I have a problem with the voice echo. I can hear my voice back. This is a very good point. The previous speaker brought about this presentation to be available to the children. I was wondering if something can be incorporated in the school program when they have to see this at school.
Did you understand that, Gloria?
Sorry, I'm having a problem with the connection. I cannot hear well my voice because I have an echo. Basically, I was wondering if this presentation can be incorporated in the school. So it's a program so the kids can see the teacher can present the program.
Yes, so her question was about whether or not this can be integrated as part of the school program and if this is something that teachers can integrate into the classroom. So we do have some very basic cyber safety sort of components that our kids can take part in that teachers have access to. I will say it doesn't go so much in depth about the human trafficking and pretty much the core content of what Ms. Suing-Jones was sharing with us this evening. So I think this particular presentation that is very much centered around that topic, that is such an important topic for kids to hear. I think the expert, Ms. Jones, the next time you can present this, this would be probably the best avenue for that content itself to be shared with the kids. The other content that they learn in the classroom is more about being respectful, how to have good digital citizenship, that sort of thing. So it doesn't necessarily go too much into the trafficking components or that type of safety.
So I'm sorry, was she asking about talking more about trafficking or more about cyberbullying?
No, I was talking about the internet safety, that kids have to be aware about this. And I think if it's incorporated in the school, there is more awareness, because this is a very interesting talk. And I asked my daughter if she can be part of it, but she skipped it. But if it is in the school and the teacher will emphasize it, I think it's going to be more awareness.
So I'm happy to work with you about I just touched on cyberbullying as a part of the internet safety, but I can do a more in-depth presentation on cyberbullying if you would like.
Thank you. That would be great. Thank you. And thank you for your question, Miss Anna. Okay, I do see a question here in the chat. My daughter, who is 8 years old, wants to have her YouTube channel. I am concerned that she is opening herself up to criticism and peer pressure. I have tried to ignore her to avoid these issues, but that doesn't feel like a good strategy. Any guidance or suggestions? This is a good question.
Well, you're right. YouTube opens up a whole can of worms, and I don't think YouTube is intended for 8-year-olds. But I do know that 8-year-olds can be very persuasive in their argument. So that's where you have to just establish some ground rules and say, you can be on this type of platform, but not on this one, because it's really not intended for children. If there is something in particular that they want to see on YouTube and you think it's okay for them to see it, you sit there with them and let them watch it, but make sure that you are with them all the time. But I'm answering not as a lawyer, but as a parent. I have 2 adult children, and I've been through all of this, but I understand it's a challenge because they will just keep pushing and pushing, but it's really important to stand your ground and then compromise. Say you can do this, but not that, would be my recommendation.
Great advice. Thank you. Okay, we have just a couple more minutes for a couple more questions, if there's any out there. These are great questions so far, so thank you for those who are brave enough to engage in this with us. Okay. Any other questions out there? All right. Well, I think that just about covers it. Again, we have recorded this session, so we will make sure that you all have access to this session. And if you want to watch it again or share it with your friends, please feel free to do that. Ms. Suing Jones, we just cannot thank you enough for your expertise and for being here with us tonight to share this very important information with all of us parents. We thank you, thank you, thank you. And definitely appreciate your willingness to do a student presentation and continue the partnership with us. We know we've been very fortunate to have such a close relationship with you and with your department. So we thank you for that.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
All right. Okay, so thank you for that. And thanks everyone for joining us this evening, and for Ms. Pimentel and putting this together through our DAC-DELAC, our parent advisory group. We want to thank those parents for joining us tonight and for putting this together for us. We look forward to seeing you next time. Be safe, be healthy, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.